I'm doing a logi video right now. What kind of
Okay.
logi advice would you give to a new player?
Get a radio?
Always get a harvester if you can. God, I'm so tired of scooping manually.
If you
I
were going to
think
give advice to a logi person who's trying to get as many commends as possible, what's a secret strat
Oh,
to do that?
Literally just come to
you
a
gotta
salvage field, put everything you can into shirts, and then go and wheel as many carts of shirts around as you can.
well for Frontline you gotta kind of foresee what's gonna happen. But they'll come with experience, so you know, like if you know they're getting RD'd and they only have 2k BMETs, by the time you get there they're gonna need BMETs. Another thing is just dropping it at the seaport if you're too scared to go to Frontline. You know, get a bunch and drop it at the Frontline region seaport. Because it goes to the whole region, you know?
Make friends. It's always a lot better when you're in a call with people to talk it out with.
So it's been about a month since my last beginner guide video, and since War 110 just started not too long ago, I figured now would be a good time to get into the next topic, which is logistics. For this video, I'm just going to go over how I typically run logistics, and I'm going to show you the entire process from identifying which hexes I want to do logi in, gathering resources, making crates, and transporting it up to the front. This video is going to be intended for folks that don't really know much about logi and want to know how to do it effectively. So we're going to go over key information like map icons, what kind of kit you want, backline versus frontline logistics, and I'll be showing both for that, and how to efficiently gather commends if you're one of those people that's on that rank grind. Again, this is just the way I do logi. Other people will do it differently. Some people prefer to use trains, some people prefer to use boats like myself, and the true masochists of the logi world just like to use haulers. If you're gonna do backline logi, save yourself the headache. Don't do that. Just don't. You guys seem like you've been enjoying these beginner guides, so I'll be making more of these as new ideas come up. I still have a couple more videos planned for the beginner guide series, so stay tuned for those. And if you like the guide, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. So let's get started. All right, let's say you first got into the game and you want to figure out where you want to do logi. So let's go ahead and spawn somewhere on the map. It doesn't need to be in the front line, but somewhere that has a MPF, which is a mass production facility. For the purpose of the video, let's pick Jade Cove in this instance, since I'm fighting for the Colonials. So you've spawned into the world. It doesn't matter if you've spawned at a logi town already or not. That's okay, because we're trying to identify what part of the map needs logi. In my case, I'm set up kind of near the north part of the map, northwest. So I'm going to be trying to pick a spot either in this lane here, Stone Cradle, the Moors, and Reaching Trail, or further up at Basin. If I'm spawning at Farragut Coast, I don't want to do logi all the way down to where Terminus is at. That's not really efficient given where I've spawned. But if you look at the map, you can tell that Jade Cove is a logi town based off of the following features. It's got a seaport here for naval logi. You've got a couple factories here to create crates. You have a refinery so that you can take raw materials and turn them into BMATs, which are basic materials, or EMATs, explosive materials, among other things as well. You have a garage to make different vehicles, and a mass production factory if you want to basically mass produce crates. These are some of the key characteristics of a logi town, and there are other ones across the map as well. I'm going to show you some examples like Ashtown and Baca Ridge. When doing logi, you want to know which hexes have seaports. These are locations where you're able to actually depot crates. You can also depot them in storage depots, which look like this. But now that we've decided which hex we're going to be starting our logi journey at, we got to make sure we find a hex that has a demand for logi. The easiest way to find that is from these blue dots across the map, which are map posts. If you don't see them for whatever reason, it's possible that you have them deselected on the left-hand side. You'll just want to make sure that map post is checked for you. So Reaching Trail, if you zoom in, just outside of Elks Ford, looks like they have a logi list for some BMATs and 30 mil. Also looks like an hour ago they were asking for 120 millimeter. You could go off of what's listed on the map post itself. I also make a point to verify that with what's actually in the bunker base. So it looks like when it comes to BMATs and 30 millimeter, we've got 1,000 BMATs and 248 30 mil rounds already in this bunker, so they're good to go on that. But what about 120 millimeter? Well, they've got 5 rounds of 120 millimeter, so they probably need more of that. In addition, they could probably use, just from looking at what's available right now, they're looking like they are a bit low on bandages. They have 70 right now, but bandages go pretty quick. A good rule of thumb is consumable items like bandages, like ammo and guns. Those are oftentimes the quickest to go. So we want to look at those first and see if those need to be replenished. In this case, definitely the ammunition. They've only got 2 clips of 7.62 and 7 Argentis. Let's get some rifles and some ammo there, as well as bandages and maybe some other things that are available or lying around in the seaport. So at this point, you should know which hex you're going to be bringing logi to, which hex you're doing logi from, and have a general idea of what they're asking for. So at this point, we want to be able to actually make those crates if they're not already available in the seaport. So we can go ahead and check the seaport now and see if we have crates of 7.62 or rifles. And in public, it doesn't look like they have either 7.62 or Argentis available. So we're going to need to go ahead and collect raw resources in order to make those crates. All right, so if we're going to be collecting resources, the most efficient way to do it would be to use a flatbed with a resource container. But for the purpose of the video, I'm going to be using a hauler to collect the resources. Another thing to mention, and this kind of goes into the kit of doing logi, is depending on which stage of the war you're in, so past the first week of the war, you may have access to sledgehammers, and sledgehammers are the most efficient tool when collecting resources like salvage. In some cases, the components do require a sledgehammer in order to be collected, so a hammer is not going to work in that case. And while we're talking about kit, while you're doing logi, it's important to always have a radio on you as well. Reason being is because that's how you'll be able to see intelligence in real time on the map. You want to make sure that's equipped in order to actually use. And you can see now when we press M, we can see little dots, which are infantry, as well as triangles, which are vehicles on the map, and they are moving in real time so that we know what we're expecting as we're doing our logi route. So let's say you're trying to find resources, you don't know where they are. It's important to know which field has what. So salvage field, self-explanatory, has salvage. It looks like it has a screw icon. Components have a hex nut shape. We're going to be focusing on salvage in this example, and so we're going to be sticking to the salvage field just outside of the seaport. All right, so after you've done a few rounds of slapping some salvage and your truck is full of raw resources, you're going to hop in, and the next stop you need to take is go to the refinery in order to turn it into B-mats. So we've made it to the refinery in Jade Cove. You can tell it's the refinery based off of the hammer icon. When you press E, you're able to pull up the inventory, refinement, and stockpile of the refinery. And we want to make sure that we hold shift and left click the salvage icon, and that will dump all of the salvage into B-mats. If you only wanted to do a little bit into B-mats and a little bit into E-mats, you could just left click directly on those icons. But we're going to go ahead and pull B-mats. Let's say some time has passed and you now have a small stockpile of B-mats ready to go. You can pull them into your R1 hauler's inventory by left clicking the B-mat icon, and we are good to go to start crafting up some guns and ammunition. So again, looking at where we're going to be doing logi and taking a look at the needs of the bunker base, it looks like now they have, at this point, ammunition, 7.62, and a few Argentis as well. But again, there's just some things that every frontline will always need at any time, and almost always in excess. And those things are shirts, B-mats, guns, and ammo. And the types of guns and ammo you want to look for are your traditional frontline guns like the Argenti for colonials, the Lowcaster for wardens, or you could go with some machine guns as well, like the Lion Claw for the colonials or the Fiddler for the wardens as well. So in this case, I'm using one of these factories. They're both right next to each other, so I'm pressing E and using one of these factories to make Argenti rifles, and I'm gonna press Shift E and click on the other factory. I'm gonna make ammunition in that one. So it's gonna take 2 minutes and 26 seconds for the ammunition to be done in this one, and 2 minutes and 53 seconds for the Argentis to be done here. While we're waiting for these to cook, and I'm gonna craft a few more shirts as well. Shirts are always important, but we're gonna keep these queues filled. And while these are cooking, I'm gonna show you guys another helpful tip that I've seen a lot of new logi players not realize, which is how to actually pull B-mats as crates from your refinery. So in terms of pulling B-mats out of the refinery in crate form, you're gonna right click the basic materials icon and you'll click retrieve as crates. And when you do that, each of these become reservable. And the reason why you would want them to be crated as reservable is, let's say you're just prepping to do logi for another day. You can create a stockpile, which I'll show you in just a minute here, at a seaport, and you'll be able to submit those B-mats into your stockpile so that they're not in public for other people to use. So in my case, I already have one created called Solo Gremblo, and I'm gonna just depot all of these in here. we're at 106 BMAT crates now. If you wanted to create a stockpile of your own, you would just click the create reserve stockpile icon and then type in the name of the stockpile. For this purpose, we're going to put test, and now we have a stockpile that is set for test. And if you wanted to share this code with other people, it doesn't have to be in your regiment, it could be just random people you've met. You can click view passcode and share this code with people to give them access to that stockpile. In order to access other people's stockpile or to enter a code, you would just click this icon, access reserve stockpile, and you'd punch in that code that was visible just a second ago. All right, so we're starting to get a bit of a stockpile now in our private stockpile. We're going to be bringing these up to the front via an iron ship, but let's go back to the factory and collect the rest of those crates. All right, guys, we are back to the factory, and it looks like our crates are ready to be retrieved. So we'll press the green check mark, and we can get those. Looks like this last one we won't have enough space for, but you can actually carry one crate in your inventory. I'll do that, and now we are good to go. Grab the last of those crates we created. And you'll do this as many times as you need to and submit these either to the public stockpile at the seaport or storage depot of your choice in the back line. Again, ideally in the same town that you are doing all of this in, or you can submit all these to a private stockpile for later use. Again, everything that you have seen so far is considered backline logistics, so keep that in mind. Soon we're going to be transitioning to Frontline, and that'll be a little bit more dangerous when it comes to doing logi and Foxhole. All right, so you've gotten back to the seaport with your crates. We're going to press E to access the seaport. Let's say you're at public already, and you go ahead and you can click in the drop down here the name of the private stockpile you've created, and you'll right click your crates and submit all to stockpile. Don't forget the one that you might have in your inventory, so we'll submit that as well. And at this point we are ready to go to ship all this stuff to the front. I'm gonna go ahead and submit the truck I was using. We're gonna go ahead and pull some BMATs and craft a iron ship in order to ship everything up to the front. So iron ships cost 500 BMATs in order to make, and they're much better than your flatbed when it comes to doing logi because they can hold 5 shipping containers or even crates of vehicles, which I'll show you as well. In order to craft an iron ship, you'll need to do that at the shipyard. They're typically right next to the seaport. It may seem like it's a lot given it's 500 BMATs, but every swing of your hammer actually consumes 5 of those BMATs, so the time it takes to craft one of these iron ships is not that long at all. While I'm swinging away on this iron ship, I just want to mention as well that it's important that you have the required number of shipping containers depending on how many you want to bring up. Again, the iron ship can fit 5 shipping containers. If you want to craft any shipping containers, you can do so at the construction yard, which looks like this. And they, I think, typically cost 100 BMATs. So you've gone ahead and crafted your iron ship. Make sure you press L so that it's locked to you and nobody can come in and steal your stuff. We're gonna pull back over here and get right next to the seaport. And we're gonna go ahead and press F to deploy, which will open up our cargo hold. And this is where we're gonna be putting our shipping containers. I'm switching to the second seat so that I can actually spawn on land. And then we wanna make sure that we're fueling up. So I press E and then this icon to refuel from the fuel canister that's over here. If for some reason it isn't fueling up for you, it's either empty or it's set to petrol, which means you're gonna need to switch your fuel type by clicking this icon here. So while the iron ship is filling up, I'm gonna go ahead and start loading up our shipping containers. You'll hop into the crane, and from here you'll press E, which will open up the menu for seaport, and I'm gonna go to public and check and see if there are any shipping containers, which it looks like there are 3. We're gonna grab one of these and we're gonna first see what's in public. Again, it doesn't look like there's a whole lot, so we're gonna switch to the private stockpile I have, and we're gonna bring supplies from here. If you right click on any of the icons and click on retrieve custom, you can actually select more than 1 or 3. If you left click once, you can grab 1 crate at a time. If you hold shift and left click, you'll grab 3 at a time. And if you right click and click on retrieve custom, you can grab 15 crates at a time. My rate at which I'm pulling these crates is a lot quicker in private than public, so it's always important to craft stuff for yourself, put it in private, that way it'll save you time and also be less of a headache for folks that are trying to use the seaport, since you'll be in one of these cranes in order to pick up the shipping container and put it into your iron ship. Now I'll show you again how I just did all of this, but this is typically how it goes when you're pulling from a seaport and doing water logi. So again, the process at which I am doing this is I'm pressing E to open up the stockpile. I'm going to public first to see if there's any public shipping containers. There's 2. I'm gonna left click that, it's gonna assemble. You can already tell it's taking longer to assemble in public than the private ones. I'm gonna switch over to my private stockpile as it's assembling, and we're gonna go ahead and start filling it up. We have a space of 60 crates in this shipping container, so let's fill it up with some shirts. And we're gonna top it off with some more B-mats. All right, so our shipping container is full. At this point, we're gonna go ahead and click on package loading area equipment, which is gonna package the shipping container for us. And we'll hold right click over the shipping container and then press left click. And again, while holding right click, we're gonna drag it over to the iron chip. Once we're over the iron chip, we'll keep holding right click and then press left click to drop it into the iron chip. So at this point, we've got 2 shipping containers loaded up. Now, if you wanted to bring a crate of tanks, trucks, any sort of vehicle, you would click on this icon here and you could pull a crate of those. They look like this here on the left. They'll just pick one of those up and you can put them in the iron chip as well. I'll show you how you can unload them in a seaport. You can't do it from outside of the seaport. You can only do it from inside the seaport or the storage depot. So that's something to keep in mind. We got 2 more spots available, so I'm gonna go ahead and fill up the last 2 shipping containers and I'll be back with you guys shortly. All right, you guys, we have the last shipping container full and I'm gonna drop it into the iron chip. At this point, we are ready to make the voyage up to the front line. Now, it's important when we're going to the front that we pick a spot that's not dangerous or contested. So again, if I'm doing water logi, I'm gonna see what's the closest hex that's safest for me to do water logi at and not at the literal front line. So we're gonna go to the moors and we're gonna be going to this seaport here at Ogmarin. And from here, it'll be a very quick drive all the way to Elks Ford where we'll be doing our logi. Your route will depend on your location on the map. But again, rule of thumb is try and take these supplies to a safer hex that's not at the literal front line itself. And then from there, you can drive your supplies to your final destination. Once we get to the seaport in Ogmarin, this will be considered frontline logi. So I will be back with you guys once we get there. All right, you guys, we finally made it to the moors. After a long, what would you call it, sailing drive? After a long sail through a couple different X's, we have made it to the moors and we are going to be stopping at the seaport. Give me just another minute or 2 and we'll be there. All right, you guys, we've made it to the seaport. In terms of just how you would go about depoting into your frontline seaport and at the same time maximize the amount of commands that you're going to be receiving when you're doing logi like this. First, let's take a look by pressing your F1 button and let's take a look at the regional players list. This is the pool of potential commands you could receive from this region. If I were to put one of these shipping containers into public, this is who would see that in the region. So I'm going to show you guys what that looks like. I'm going to press F to deploy. I'm going to press E on the seaport and I already have a stockpile created, but if you needed to create one, you would follow the same steps that I showed before. Create a reserve stockpile, name it, and you will have access to that. So we're going to be depoting into the Grem front stockpile first, just to show you how to do that. So this is going to be private. Nobody's going to see it in region, but we're going to go ahead and pull the shipping container out from the iron ship. At the same time, we're holding right click, left click, and we're going to go ahead and submit loading area equipment. We're going to want to make sure that Grem front or whatever you're named your stockpile at the top right is visible, and we will go ahead and submit that. We'll click it again so that the shipping container is there as well. But in this case, it's one of the public ones that I use, so it'll say 1 or more items is not reservable. In this case, we'll go to public and just submit it there. For this example, let's go ahead and take another shipping container. I think this one will be going into public. So we're going to see just how many commands we get while doing this method of logi. So again, because it's a seaport, the entire region will get a notification when they see this. So it's set to public right now. Let's go ahead and submit the loading equipment. You'll see a notification at the top left and we should be seeing some commands. Yep. Okay. We just took a fat fucking L. This here is going to be the crates of vehicles. This is going to go into our private stockpile. So again, making sure it's set to private or whatever the name of the stockpile is. We're going to go ahead and click on submit loading area equipment. Now we have 2 crates of R1 haulers. If you right click this, you can unpack it to the public stockpile or the reserve one. I'm going to unpack one of these into public because if we check public, yeah, it doesn't look like they have any in public right now. So let's help them out. I'm gonna go to my private stockpile, go to the crate vehicle icon, and then we're gonna unpack the public stockpile. When we go to public, we can see there's 3 haulers now. I'm gonna go ahead and finish up with the rest of these shipping containers, and then I'll show you guys how to do frontline logistics. All right, you guys, so we're at a seaport where we'll be storing our supplies and doing logi from. We wanna bring it up to the front itself. So we've got another logi list here. Looks like they need B-mats and a lot of it. Let's see how many they have. There I have 21. So we're just going to bring a bunch of B-mats for them. And you know, I want to be proactive, right? I want to see what else they might need. So it looks like they only have 9 bayonets and not doing too well on medical supplies. So we're going to bring 2 crates of bayonets, 2 trauma kit crates. Actually, we'll bring 1 because they've got 12 already. Bring 2 first aid ones. And I think we are good to go. We just need to grab more B-mats and we're gonna head to the front. Now again, because I have the radio, we want to keep an eye on the map, make sure we don't get ganked from any partisans. The reason why I put most of my stuff in private, and maybe some people would disagree, it's just so much quicker to pull from private stockpiles than public, and when you need to do quick logi runs, those seconds count when you're pulling, so it's best to just put everything in private. That way when you're doing these runs, you can just quickly pull things out from your stockpile and you're good to go. Now this may not look too good. If they are waiting in queue, we might be waiting in queue as well. Yep, we are sitting in a queue. One thing to mention while you are in a queue, if you do logi, you actually have priority in the queue. So you should be able to skip most people. Unfortunately, it looks like this hex has a bunch of people probably doing an op right now, so we're gonna be stuck. So instead of waiting in queue, I saw a message in Intel chat asking for supplies at Basin. We're gonna go ahead and stop by the seaport. I already depoted some stuff in this hex, so I'm gonna go and grab more supplies and bring them to the folks at Basin. Now on the map, you can see there's some partisans on the road watching the border as well. It's not the best idea to push up at this point, so I'm going to wait for some infantry to clear out these partisans before I continue to push up. I also make a point to let Intel chat know that we need to clear out those partisans. That way we get folks helping out as quickly as possible so that they can get their logistics as quickly as possible. We're gonna have to push immediately off the border. Oh no, don't do that.
Please tell me you got B-man.
I do. All right, guys, we got the B-mats submitted. We got 1 command. Let's go. And that's pretty much it, you guys, when it comes to logistics. At this point, you would just be doing continuous trips back and forth from your stockpile or any of the public stockpiles nearby the front line. And from there, you're able to keep the front line going. Hopefully you'll get rewarded with some commands if that's something you're after, or at the very least you'll be helping your side win that battle. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope it was informational for all you new Foxhole players. For any of you guys that have experience, who are veterans or have additional tips and tricks on how to do effective logi, please put those down in the comment section below. Let's try and make these videos a wealth of knowledge for all new players to the game and give helpful tips whenever possible. If you guys like this video and want to see more beginner friendly guides, please make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. That way I know you guys are interested in these types of videos, and also that way new Foxhole players get recommended these types of videos and they're able to feel more empowered and more sure of themselves when they're playing the game. Thank you guys for the love and support, and I'll see you all in the next one.
Can I put my balls in your jaw?